You have found Authentic Business Adventures, the business program that brings you the struggle stories and triumphant successes of business owners across the land. Downloadable audio episodes can be found on the podcast link found at drawincustomers.com. We are locally underwritten by the Bank of Sun Prairie. Today we're welcoming / preparing to learn from Farzad Rashidi, lead innovator and co-founder of Respona. And Farzad, I'm stumbling over my words here. Respona, I was poking at your website and I wonder, just out of curiosity before we get going so that people understand what this is, did you use your own platform to reach out to me?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm happy
Perfect.
to dig into
All right.
that a little bit more.
So that's awesome. That's incredible. So that just
Thank
shows you the power of this, right? Because here we are. So why don't you tell us what is Respona, and we'll just run with that. Sure.
So Respona in short basically helps businesses get up in the search results in Google. That's sort of our one-liner pitch. Now I can give you a little bit of a backstory, sort of how we came up with it, and I think that would sort of shed some light in terms of
please, yeah,
absolutely what it does exactly. Sure. So James, I actually joined I would say it's our parent company in a way, Visme. Have you heard of Visme before?
I have to apologize, I have not.
That's okay. Have you heard of tools like Canva or Prezi? When it's like design tools?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so we're somewhat of a competitor, but Visme is a bit more on the B2B side. So we cater predominantly to SMB and enterprise. And I joined as a first marketing hire, and my job basically was just to put it out there. We were like, okay, we built this awesome product. We need someone to actually start marketing it. And we were a completely bootstrap company, never raised a single dollar in outside funding, which is very rare for software companies. And so what basically I did was to evaluate a few options. So just to kind of give you a blueprint, or I would say a snapshot of where Visme stands now, we have over 20 million active users and over 100 employees, still fully profitable and bootstrapped, never raised funding. And so, but we didn't get here overnight. It definitely was quite a journey. So basically what I started figuring out was a sustainable customer acquisition strategy. So as you know, there's 3 or 4 different main strategies a lot of folks start with. Number 1, cold outreach, right? So go door to door, start selling, which is great if you have a product that makes sense from a pricing standpoint. At the time, our product was $15 a month. So something that the unit economics don't make sense to hire US-based salespeople to go to companies that are selling at $15.
No, not until 10 years have passed, I suppose.
Exactly. So second one, paid advertising, which is, again, it could be a very powerful channel, but as a bootstrap company, obviously it's a very cash restrained sort of effort. So we're still experimenting with it. But what I found that's sort of difficult with these paid advertising channels, I mean, regardless of that I would say the social platform, whether it be Google or Facebook, et cetera, is that there's some diminishing return. So what that means is basically start doubling your budgets. You're like, oh, this ad's working. So doubling it, conversions don't double. So you sort of hit that plateau. And that's something that we haven't been able to figure out, even 10 years into the journey, is that it hasn't really been a sustainable channel for us as far as being able to scale it. And we're like, okay, so what do we do? Let's sort of walk through the customer journey and figure out how exactly our buyers go about purchasing our product. So say, James, let's say you want to create a presentation and want to create some sort of an infographic for this episode. How would you go about picking the solution or finding one if you don't already have a solution? Well, like as a buyer, what's the first step you do when it comes to finding a solution like ours?
Man, is dig on the web and see what people have out there.
Exactly. And where do you dig? Like, what's the first website you go into to search?
Google, I imagine.
There you go. So we knew that from day one. We're like, okay, so our customers are aware of the problem we're solving, right? And they're Googling it. So we're like, great, that instead of us spending hundreds of millions of dollars becoming a household name, let's start showing up in places where people who are looking for a software like ours would organically find us. So that way we don't have to pay cash or go chase after every customer every time we want to acquire one. So long story short, we're like, great, let's just build some pages, do some keyword research and write some blog posts and traditional SEO advice, right? Make sure your site loads fast and is responsive
Sure.
and all that good stuff. So we spent months doing that, and we were like, great, we put it out there. And guess what happened?
Nothing. Everything but traffic is working, right?
Exactly. Absolutely nothing. It was completely crickets. So we're like, okay, well, we're obviously doing something wrong, because everybody keeps telling us that this is the way to do it, right? So we see a lot of other websites being very successful with it. So we're like, okay, for example, let's actually go through this exercise together. James, can you do me a favor? Just go ahead and Google like one of our parent keywords, like presentation software, right? Can you go ahead and just Google that for me?
Yeah. Let's see
And
what
when
we
you
got.
Google, when you Google, it normally tells you how many web pages went through in like 0.1 second or something like that.
Yeah, 1 billion.
How many zeros do you see?
369 plus a couple other random numbers in there. So yeah, we got 1 billion.
Okay.
In
1
0.63 seconds.
Okay.
Like
so there's some billions. There are 1 billion web pages that are targeting the keyword presentation software. So we're in one of the most competitive, I would say, space.
That's quite a few.
Yep, exactly. And what do you see on page one, like after the ads? As a user, you normally ignore the ads.
You got Prezi sponsored ads, right? You got beautiful.ai, Templify, ads within the first part of the screen that before scrolling, it's all ads.
Mm-hmm. And what do you see in the organic results?
First one is Visme, which you had mentioned. Then we have Zapier, Tech Radar, an article company or news company thing. Then Prezi again. Yeah.
So how do we get up in this first organic source? So we pay $0 to be on here, and it's bringing us thousands of users. So Visme's platforms like right now getting over 20,000 new signups every single day, right? So without us spending a dime.
That's cool.
How in the world did we get it up here, right? Because it's not only just for these particular keywords, but right now our website gets over 3 million visitors every month. It's 100,000 people every single day. All right, and
that's impressive.
Exactly. So how in the world did we go about it? And so what we figured out was basically kind of going back in the late 90s, and we're like, let's kind of dig into the history a little bit. So when Google wasn't the dominant search engine, there was AOL and Yahoo and a bunch of these other search engines that basically were the big market players. And the way they worked was basically just based on keywords. So you would look up a keyword and it will look and see, okay, what are some of the web pages that have the most keywords that match it? And what happens is that a lot of these marketers went and stuffed their keywords on their page, and they get
all the black hat, some white hat. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yep. So you get a bunch of junk. So what Google did was basically relying on credibility and popularity to rank search results. So not only they look at the content on the page, they developed this algorithm called PageRank, which I thought it was because it was ranking pages, but it's actually named after Larry Page, the founder.
Funny. I never knew that.
I didn't know that either. Yeah. Huh. Anyhow, so he came up with this algorithm and was like, okay, let's not just look at what's on the web page. In order to rank web pages, let's look at what other relevant authoritative websites are talking about them. So the more websites in your space are talking about you, it looks at it as a vote of popularity, basically. So if other people are talking about you, then you must be a credible resource. So you get up in the search results. And that gets very interesting, isn't it? So not only you can't just stuff keywords and get up in the search results, you now have to convince other people to actually talk about you. And that's what's really the core of Google's algorithm. So we're like, okay, that sounds great. Let's just go get some other people to talk about us. And that helps us get up in the search results. And it turned out to be a lot more difficult.
Right?
Yeah, because when you're writing content and building web pages, that's why a lot of agencies just focus on that, right? Call it on-page SEO. So you just grab a Google Doc and just write some words, and there you go, bam, we got a blog post. And now there's this bunch of these AI tools that just pop out of blog posts, right? But just click a button. Mm-hmm. So that, to me, that basically is like a base foundation, like the bare minimum you can do. And that's what everybody else is doing. So really stand out, you had to actually start doing some outreach, basically getting other websites to vouch for you and talk about you. And that includes, digital PR campaigns, going on podcasts, right?
Yeah, right.
That's what I'm doing now.
Big
Collaborating with other
ones,
websites.
right?
Yeah, exactly. And so long story short, that process was sort of done manually at the beginning. We're sort of duct taping a bunch of different tools and manually emailing people and reach out. And it gets very messy very quickly. And so what we did basically was just to put together the whole process that was working manually, put it in an internal software that we built ourselves. And it just worked ridiculously well. And it just like 10x that productivity, and it helped us really, really scale that initiative, and that skyrocketed Visme's growth. And so we decided to release it as a standalone product. And that's how Respona was born. So that's that, and the rest is history.
All right. So how long ago are we talking when it was created, or when you shifted gears to offering it as a standalone product?
2019, that's when we first released the first, I would say, the public version
All right.
that was open.
And tell me about the deliberation, the committee that had to be on there to talk about, hey, should we release this? Because now we're changing focus a little bit, or multiplying focus, which can be a challenge depending upon how many crew you have.
Yeah, exactly. So that was one thing that we wanted to keep it completely separate, because what happens when you have a company that has a successful product and is on the right trajectory, you don't want to shift your focus into it and sort of dilute your efforts. So when I sort of pitched the idea to the founder of Visme, Payman, he was sort of adamant that, hey, this is its own separate thing. So it requires its own team members, full-time employees, separate entities, separate bank account, like separate completely everything, so that it doesn't take away from.
Oh, so it's treated as an entirely separate business then?
Separate business, yes. It's a completely separate thing. So I basically shift over and manage the team. And right now, Respona has its own infrastructure and it's its own thing. So it was a little baby thing incubated there, and now it's its own growing teenager. So yeah.
So you were an employee of a successful business, and then you said, hey, I want to run with this little offshoot. There had to be some risk on your end then, because you don't necessarily know that the offshoot is going to be successful, but the place that you're working at is successful. So tell me what was going through your head with this.
Well, it's something that I always wanted to do. I mean, I came up with the idea of Respona myself. Like, it's something that has been throughout my life, I've always been the creator, coming up with ideas, and most of them have been bad. But there are some good ones, and this was one of the good ones. And I was very confident that it's going to work out, because it's something that we built for ourselves, for our needs. So we had a very deep understanding of the problem, and we implemented it, and it worked. It was an actual solution to the problem that was very serious. And now just imagine the extent of the market, right? So now you have lots of these other software companies, these agencies, other sorts of businesses that want to get traffic, and not only that, but just promote themselves. And we finally built a solution that was working and actually delivering results. So it was a no-brainer for us to give it a shot, and it required quite a lot of investment, obviously time-wise, funding-wise. But now, if I go back, I would do the same thing. So
all right,
100%.
Very cool.
Thank you.
Did the parent company, so to speak, I guess, when they, is it safe to say, allowed you to run with this thing? Is that safe to say?
So the founder of Visme is still the founder of Respona as well. So he basically is the president of the company, and so it wasn't there wasn't any conflict of interest as far as I'm going to go do my own thing, right? It was something that was sort of developed together, and so that's what I'm the person basically managing this effort and taking it forward. So that.
But I guess what I'm asking is, you were successful with Visme, and so for this to be a separate entity, this guy's losing essentially a good employee on the Visme side that he'll have to replace. So it's kind of taking it somewhat guaranteed, as much as it can be, or as much as any employee can be,
right? And
putting it into this, I'm going to challenge it a little bit and say riskier, because it's brand new, right? So it should be a given thing, but from an employer standpoint, that was a risk on his end as well. So kudos to him.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't with his support. So 100%. I mean, it
Yeah.
definitely took risk on both sides, and I'm glad it was a well-educated guess.
Yeah.
But I'm glad we did it, because now we're helping thousands of other businesses sort of taking advantage of this platform. So we
That
wouldn't
is
have done that
incredible.
yeah, thank you.
That is incredible. Tell me, you have a certain vertical of businesses that I would assume that you're targeting. When I look at your website, it mentions software as a service businesses.
Mhm.
What other verticals do you get into with this?
We're normally, I would say, half and half. The other half are agencies. So basically, SEO and marketing agencies that offer this sort of services to their clients. So they
Oh,
use our
okay.
platform on the back end, which costs $99 a month to start with, and they charge their clients thousands of dollars a month in retainers to actually do the
Oh,
work.
funny.
That
Well, everybody's just trying to make money, right? Just a
well,
squirrel
that's
trying to
great.
get
No,
a
I mean,
nut.
obviously, business are aware too that they can just purchase their own tools and do it internally. They just don't want to deal with it. Either they don't have the resources internally or the know-how. Right. So that's one of the biggest challenges we have also as a company is education, sort of, because, I always say this Respona is kind of sort of like a knife, right? It helps you find an outreach and do all that, but you need a strategy, you need the right messaging. And that's something that requires a chef, right? To have the recipe to make the food. It's not just enough to have a sharp knife. So, and these agencies are the chefs, right? So you can either cook at home or you can go to a restaurant. So I don't think anybody's getting ripped off here. It's just a matter of, priorities. Some companies, they have.
Okay. So there's labor involved on the agency side.
Exactly.
That when somebody
Right.
buys it just on their own, they have to invest that time and energy in there. So tell me,
100%.
I guess, how does it work, right? Somebody signs up and they're like, great, I have this tool, right? I have this hammer.
Mhm.
I need to learn how to use a hammer. How much time is a typical client expected, or is it a good idea for them to bank on spending in a given, let's say, month to make this thing work for them?
So that's a great question. So it actually isn't difficult to use. And that was one of the things that we wanted to make it super, super easy to plug and play. So we actually have like campaign templates. So when you log in, we're like, okay, what do you want to do? So let's just take an example. Let's actually take your new book as an example. We just did a case study actually with a book publishing company that offers this as a service. So let's say you want to do it yourself. So you go sign up for Respona, and then we give you a list of strategies that you can start with. And then each one of these strategies, we just ask you a few questions and we'll build that campaign for you. So one of the best strategies I would say for book publishing is going on as a guest on podcasts, which is what I'm doing right now. Right.
All right.
So there's a couple different things you can do. Like, for example, one of my favorite strategies is to actually look up other founders or other people in your industry. Like if there are any other marketing agency owners or business coaches, et cetera, that have released a book, and you can basically type their name and company name into Respona, and it will go and find all the interviews they've been a guest on over the course of the past year or whatever.
Oh, interesting.
You replicate that with anybody. And so that automatically tells you 3 things about these podcasts instead of just doing a regular keyword research of finding general business podcasts. 1, these podcasts accept guests, because not all podcasts do, right? 2, they're relevant to your space because they've obviously interviewed someone in your space, and also makes your life easier when it comes to personalization because you can reference that episode. So if I actually look up like that email that our team members reached out to you with, you actually reference a person that we respect and like that has been on your show. So when you get that email, it doesn't look like a cookie cutter email that we send out to everyone, because we actually have done this, the research and figured out, okay, is this a good show for Farzad? Is this the type of audience that I can add value to? And it's reflected in the email pitch that we sent you. So that's, I'm sure, you get these pitches every day from these agencies.
I get them definitely every day, sometimes more than every day.
Yeah.
And it's just, you can't say yes to all of them. You don't want to say yes to all of them, but actually there's
Exactly.
some like this that I was like, I love it, especially when you use your own tool, as in the case of marketing, use your own marketing tool essentially to market your marketing business. So it's clever. And I remember the email when I don't know if it was you, it was somebody else. I don't even know if that's a real person or not.
Yeah,
but they
Yvonne.
mentioned the other podcast. So that was definitely a good hook.
I actually just found the email that Yvonne sent you. Yes, he's a team member. Shout out to Yvonne. Thank you for.
All right. You never know if it's just a real human or if this just a made up
Nope, a real
avatar,
human.
right? You don't know. That's the world we are.
No.
We don't know who's
He's
real.
one of our marketing team members. He does helps out with outreach. You actually referenced Melissa Kwan at webinar.
Oh yeah.
So they're a Respona customer as well. So I'm not sure if they use that platform to land the interview with you. But so yeah, Melissa.
She may have. Yeah,
Yeah?
she may have. She reached out to me, so she may have. How funny would that be? That's a snowball.
Exactly. So yeah, so I mean, it's helping other entrepreneurs gain visibility and trust, and that's just one out of a gazillion different strategies, that you can do to promote your book. There's lots of different ways, like for example, a listicle strategy. So you can look up all the new blog posts that are getting published, and hey, what are some of the best business books or something like that. So you could go ahead and pitch your book to be mentioned on there. Like, hey, I'd love to send you a free copy if you were kind to give us a mention here. And there's lots of different ways, tactics like that you utilize. But the process of, okay, now I found this blog post, I want to reach out to them. Who's the right person on the website? Okay, it's James. All right, great. Who's James? What's his job title? Like, is it someone that has editorial access, or is it that type of person that would be the right contact? If so, what's his email and what's his LinkedIn? What's the best way to contact him? And then what did we say to him? Let's personalize the pitch. Let's set up an automated follow-up because he most likely won't reply to our first pitch. So all of that processes is sort of put together and streamlined using our platform so that you can go from start to finish in 10 minutes instead of what would normally take 10 hours manually.
All right. Very cool. So correct me if I'm wrong here. It sounds like there's some templates or essentially that you're starting out with. You're writing some emails and all that jazz. But once it gets really going and you're seeing what's working within the system, is it somewhat automated where initially you're spending more time, but once it gets going, you kind of just collect the fish, so to speak?
Yep, 100%. I mean, all of the dirty research work, like manual work, is all automated. So like finding contacts in the emails, verification, finding episodes, all that stuff is fully automated. But the actual personalization of the pitches, that's something that still requires a human touch. Now we're still also working on some AI features that also like actually listens to the episode that you found a contact, or like reads the page and actually based on the summary of the page, personalizes the emails for you. So this is something that we're actually experimenting with right now. But it still requires a human to actually review the email, make sure that we do some research to figure out if they're a right fit, right? And that's something that requires some human element. It's not something that we want to fully automate necessarily, because obviously we don't want to just make the internet inundated with just automatic, emails and junk.
Right.
So the whole goal is to build relationships with other people, and Responder just helps you identify the right people to build relationships with, and automates a lot of the dirty work tasks. So then now I can instead of spending hours researching these opportunities, I can spend an hour chatting with you doing this episode together, right? It's a lot more productive way of using my time instead of just dealing with spreadsheets and a bunch of duct tape and offer.
So does this also work for, let's say, a local business? I'm a plumber in, let's say, Madison, Wisconsin area. So I'm not trying to reach somebody in Los Angeles.
Right.
I just have my 60-mile radius circle ish that I'm after for clients. So I don't need, or couldn't help thousands of people. So can it be refined too? Or I guess maybe just tell me how it can be refined.
Right. So it goes back to the customer acquisition strategies. So what's the best way you can get customers at the most affordable in the most affordable way possible? So I personally don't recommend SEO to the majority of businesses. Some of them are actually listening to the show.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the first time I've heard that. Holy cow. All right.
100%.
Tell me more.
Let me tell you why. So if you are, for example, a plumber and you have a certain geographic area that you cater to, there are much better ways on getting your business shown to people in that region. One of which is local SEO, which basically, hey, put together Google My Business, get your customers to write a review for you, give them a gift card, give them a free plumbing job if they write you a good review. And because from a customer perspective, when I'm looking at, when I want to hire a plumber, first thing I will do is that I'll look up, plumbers near me or something like that, either on Google Maps or on Apple Maps, or even if I go on Google, normally I'm looking at specific geographic area. So that doesn't require you to have a landing page, or maybe you can have a landing page or a website, but it's not a type of website that's basically catered to the international audience that is the whole internet, right? So you're not trying to write, hey, what are some of the best ways to unclog a toilet? Like that type of audience could come land on your page from China, right? So that's not really a very effective way of using resources to start getting your content pages up for, top of funnel keywords and kind of working your way down. Instead, what I would recommend is, collect more reviews on your Google My Business. Maybe you can run some Google ads for people that are looking at your specific location, because the cost per click is probably going to be super low since you're looking at, Madison and Wisconsin, like very, very specific geographic area. So there are more effective, lower cost ways on getting your name out there. And if you're a plumber, you don't need thousands of customers a day. You need a dozen, right? A week, which is great. So it's an overkill. It's kind of like putting rocket fuel in a car, right? It's not an efficient way of using resources. However, if you are for example, a plumbing, like a nationwide plumbing company that have locations all over the country, or say you're an affiliate site. So you own a site that refers leads to plumbers. So for that type of website, I would recommend putting together SEO strategies. You could kind of cater to a larger audience. But for local brick and mortar businesses that cater specifically just to specific geographic area, I don't recommend global SEO. That's not a good way. Like I've seen people that are like an apartment community or something, and they write blog posts about some random topics about apartments. I'm like, this is a waste of time and effort. Like there are much better ways to acquire a customer, right? So let me give you a couple of examples. How do we actually determine if it's the right fit for you, right? I think that's an important question to answer.
Fair, totally fair.
Exactly. One, are your customers aware of the problem they're solving, or is this a nice to have?
Say that one more time.
Are your customers aware of the problems that you're solving?
Oh, are they aware? Okay, sure.
And two, if they're aware, where are they looking for it? How does that buyer journey look like? And if the answer is yes, they're aware and they're Googling it, then that's a clear indication you have to invest in SEO 100%. But majority of business is not like that. So for example, one of my friends started a apparel company in college, right? As college students do. I feel like
that's all right. Got to pay for it somehow, right?
Yeah, which is great. But, he was trying to set up his website and start getting organic traffic, which I didn't recommend him, because there are a lot better ways on how you can utilize a lifestyle product like that. Because it's not likely I'll be looking at, or specifically looking at these keywords and actually wanting to purchase a t-shirt. The way majority of people buy t-shirts is that they either see it and an influencer wearing it, or they go onto the store, right, and buy it. So building relationships with these brick and mortar retailers, or running Facebook ads, or hiring TikTok influencers, or making TikTok dances, and that may be a better strategy for a product like that. And on the other end of the spectrum, you may be selling MRI machines to hospitals. Nobody's Googling, okay, MRI machine. It's like $1 million machine.
Brand new employee and has no idea.
That's ridiculous. So you have to build relationships with hospitals. You need to go door to door, hire a bunch of salespeople, go selling, or however way medical industry works. I'm not an expert in that, but if you look at most businesses around us, they don't operate that way. There are local businesses that have a certain way of acquiring customers, and that's great. Just double down stuff that works. Don't try to invent new ways. But there are some subset of businesses like ours, right? If I want a link building software, what's the first thing I do? I go and I'm like, okay, how do I increase traffic to my website? Or how do I market my book? Or how do I or I want to build backlinks to my website, or what's the best link building software? What are some of the best link building tools? So we need to show up in all of those places if you want to acquire that customer. It's unlikely that you see a TikTok dance of someone
just reading a book.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know what I mean? So it all comes down to your buyer, your ICP, your ideal customer profile, and how that buyer journey looks like. And you just cater to that in every step of the journey.
All right. So as I'm thinking about this and talking to you, I can think of some businesses, my own included, that think like, yes, I could certainly use something like this. But I don't know. You raised that first question. Is the client or potential client aware of the problem? I don't know that I'm smart enough to know to search for software like this. I would go, and this is probably just because I'm more, we'll call it old school instead of just old. I would look for an employee to do the grunt work for something like this rather than find software to do the majority of the grunt work.
Yeah. And that's what majority of people do. And that's why half of our customer base are agencies, right?
Okay.
So they cater to the more traditional side of the market. Like if we have, for example, one of the largest like construction companies, like they're very good at construction and they want to get their website up because they have international operations and they actually cater to a lot of these and they want to actually show up for specific keywords they have. They're not going to purchase a software that would do that internally because they don't have the technical know-how or the willingness to have the technical know-how to do it in-house. So they would much rather work with a proven agency that's worked with clients in their space, already has the know-how, already has the set of right tools, and they just pay them however much money they're asking for and then let them handle it, hands off.
So I guess in my point, I would much rather pay for software than pay a person. Because the software doesn't come with the baggage that a person does, broadly speaking.
Right.
So, but I wouldn't know to look for it.
Yeah. So what we normally do is that we match folks that don't have, like, we have lots of even companies, software companies like that acquire customers through all their organic. They're like, hey, I don't have resources to do this internally. So we match them normally with a freelancer who can help them sort of strategize and build that campaigns. So we do help with that, but obviously it's a challenge because you have to figure out where to put your eggs, right? So what can you do in your 8 hours that would be most productive? So if you're really good at one thing, for example, if you're very good at writing, or if you're good at whatever, and just do what you're good at, and you normally delegate the rest of it. So in other words, I would say, if you're in a more traditional industry, it's much better to work with an agency that knows their stuff. It would be a much more productive way of spending your resources. But on the other hand, if there's a marketing expert like yourself, who knows how to get around using tools and doing that, it's a lot more economical to do this in-house. For example, one of our employees does outreach for us and builds 20 quality mentions from other websites every week. That's around, I would say, 80 to 100 a month.
Wow.
And an agency would charge you about $500 for each one of these relationships.
For each one?
For each one. So it's around 40 to 50K a month.
That's a healthy
that an agency would charge us. But I have one person
who
manages it from A to Z, and he has some other responsibilities on the side. So it makes sense, but it's because we're very good at it. Right.
All right.
But on the other hand, if you don't have the marketing know-how, it may make more sense to just do more of what you're good at and just delegate the rest of it to an agency. So that's how we would go about it normally.
Got it. That's interesting. I had no idea that an agency would charge something like that. Because to me, backlinks, you need an incredible amount, because sooner or later that website's going to go away, or that page could go away or something like that. There's stuff that, I mean, it seems like somewhat of a moving target.
Right. So
to pay for that one and then the next day it's gone or whatever.
Gotcha. So that's where most people go wrong with it, right? And that's why I recommend working with a trusted person, because there's so much malpractice done in the space. So you can go on Fiverr and say, hey, give me 1,000 backlinks for $2. And yeah, so guess where that comes from? So there's something called PBNs, or private blogger networks. So sites that are just built to give out links. And so those United to Google have absolutely no value, or even if some mistakenly do over the long run, they would have zero.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So what you want to do is to build relationships with authoritative resources in your space. You want to link from a site like Respona, or we're getting a link from a legitimate business, or drawingcustomers.com, right?
Mm-hmm.
Stuff that basically doesn't accept payments for links. We want those. Why? Because these are the ones that matter at the end of the day. There is no cheating this system. And that's what people want to do, is to take shortcuts and kind of get rich quick type deal, approaches to businesses. And what happens is that most of those obviously fail. So what I'm trying to say is that it's supposed to be difficult to do. That's why it's still a ranking factor. That's what still has an impact 20 years after. Mm-hmm. Like in technology, it's very rare that something sticks around for that long. But there's the reason why it's supposed to be difficult to get other people to talk about you.
Got it. Tell me, just from your opinion, this is one of the challenges that I have, that I feel like the search engines, Google, Bing, whatever, that they all have to have, because there are going to be large companies, let's say like Pepsi.com or something like that have a budget to have the crew to learn the game with the search engines and play the game. And then you're going to have Joe's Soda Shack or something like that, right, who does not have the budget, does not have the employees, and probably has his grandson throwing up a website in the basement.
Mm-hmm.
But Joe's Soda Shack is still a legitimate business.
Right.
But are they playing on the same playing field as far as the search engine is concerned? Or is the search engines, are they looking at the bigger players saying like, hey, we got to look at you a little bit deeper to make sure that you're not doing some crazy black hat stuff? Or is it just more or less like, these are the rules, play by them or don't, whether you know them or not?
Right. It's the same way. So that's normally a very common question. That's a great question you're asking, James, is that, hey, what if you can give up, obviously. For example, when we started VisMe, we were going against people that had hundreds of millions of dollars in funding, and they still do. And they're still raising, and they're about to go public. They're public companies. That's Adobe. Tough. That's one of our competitors.
Adobe is.
Yeah, it's a giant design company.
They have software similar to what you have going on.
Not on Respona. I was talking about the other side.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Side. Right.
Like,
Respona,
okay.
We're in a smaller niche, much smaller niche. But there are still, I mean, everybody in our industry is an SEO person. So it's a very competitive place to be. All right. So what I'm trying to say is that you can still make it work for smaller businesses, because we've done it repeatedly. Mm-hmm. It's not something, it's a one-time lock or something like that.
Okay.
It's just a different process when you go about it. When it comes to multi-million-dollar budgets, larger websites, you normally have certain goals and objectives that you go after more competitive, more higher volume keywords, and those are normally dominated by some of the big guys. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to smaller business, you normally are looking at more of a longer tail variations of the keywords, lower competitive, or lower in competition keywords that are still matching intent. But you also have to have a spin on your product or the service that you offer. So for example, Walmart took out all of the grocery stores that were local grocery stores. So if you don't have any sort of differentiating factor, you're going to go out of business anyway. So that doesn't matter what your customer acquisition strategy is.
All right.
But if you have a spin on your product, like for example, for Respona, we don't advertise ourselves as a PR software. You know, there is Meltwater and Cision, and these are multi-billion-dollar companies that offer these, press release distribution. And it's just not something that we're interested in, nor we want to be in that market. Mm-hmm. Or there's a market that is for sales outreach. And again, we're very closely related. But we pick a niche that we are very good at, and it's very differentiated. And there's a certain group of people that are actively looking for it. And so that's the type of keywords, and that's the type of, let's say, intent that we go after. It's not necessarily just on our SEO for our internal marketing strategy. So you have to have a certain spin, certain differentiating factor. You can't go head to head with these bigger companies, because if you start a soda company, for example, it's not a very smart move. Unless
it's a little tougher.
Yeah,
So the tougher,
exactly.
I
So you
always
can't
think of
just
RC Cola, right? Like you
yeah,
guys
but
just still hanging on.
make like kombucha tea something, go sell it to vegans, do that spin on the soda. Don't make another Coca-Cola because they own the market already. So what I'm
Right.
trying to say is you got to start from a certain niche and kind of expand from there. And that's our goal as well. I mean, with Respona, we didn't go after huge industries. We're like
Mhm.
link building.
Right.
Now we're also expanding into affiliate recruitment. So if you have an affiliate program, you need to get other websites to promote you. So that's one of our rising use cases. Podcast outreach.
All
So what
right.
I'm looking at, so use cases that are very closely related to our product that we can be very good at and delivers results, but it's not something that huge corporations have focused on in the past. So once we are the number one software, then we're going to start expanding into other bigger and bigger industries and kind of take that approach.
Got it. Got it. That is cool. I like it. The SEO thing is just a game that I sit on the sidelines and watch, probably more on the sidelines than I should. But it's one of those, it's fascinating, but holy cow, you got to know the game. So I guess speaking of that, from a segue point of view, when you first started creating this product, when you're working for Visme, what were some of the challenges or some of the obstacles that you ran into in creating this product just for Visme itself?
Right. So what building software, I mean, I didn't realize how difficult it was because I joined Visme a few years into their journey. But it's brutal. It's just
That is
insanely
what I've heard.
difficult. And it's just something that as like consumers, we don't understand it. Like before I joined, and even though while I was working at the company, I didn't understand the extent of the amount of work that goes into creating these products that would be easy to use and and for them to work the way they should. So many technical details, and I'm not a technical person. I'm a marketing sales guy, so it's for me to understand it in a way that I can hire the right people and instruct them with the right set of
Right.
features and
Mm-hmm.
and basically driving the ship. It's something that requires an insane amount of experience. So I was lucky to have Payman, who would be basically the mentor, and he's gone through it all, and he's been in the business for over 20 years. So basically,
Mm-hmm.
able to provide the guidance to do it. But yes, insanely difficult, and it's not. And the thing about it is that building the product is the easy part of it. Then how do we actually go about selling the product?
Yeah.
Right. And sort of putting that together from scratch. That every single thing that you do is not supposed to work. That's why most startups fail, because like in order to build a great product, you need to have a lot of funding, have a lot of cash. In order to get a lot of funding, have a lot of cash, you need to have a great product, all contradicting each other. So you're sort of building the car as you're driving it. That's like the easiest, that's like the closest thing I've come to.
All right.
So, but it's a good thing. It's supposed to be difficult. Why? Because it's a differential. It's a barrier to entry. Not everybody in the grandmother's basement can create a product that does the things that Respona does. And that's great. Taking us years and technical know-how and lots of investment internally to make it work. And so yeah, that's where I would leave it at.
All right. So when you were I'm looking on your website, and there's you got bloggers you're reaching out to, podcast hosts that you're reaching out to, and other, I guess, website types, I guess, for lack of a better word. How do you figure out, or one, I guess, how did you know to look at bloggers versus podcasters versus other just random sites? I say random, not meaning the word random. I don't know what a good word is. Other types of sites, I guess. One, I guess, from a podcaster's point of view, I remember I started my podcast a few years ago, and you get going, and I was constantly having to reach out and get guests. And
Right.
I was concentrating more or less local here. Most of it was in person. Pandemic hits, we go remote. But over the course of that time, and as I started getting more popular, all these people are reaching out to me. And I'm thinking, like I have an audience and all that jazz, but you still have to talk to me for an hour, which I'm going to consider an awesome thing. But it's one of those things where I'm like, is this really offering the value that they're hoping for, versus just instead of the content itself, it's more the link from the content to their website?
Right.
Is there,
So I'm
how
going to
did
let you
you
in a little,
know, how did you
go
know
ahead.
there's value there?
So I'm going
Is
to
there
let you in
value?
a
I
little
hope there's
secret.
value there.
Yeah. So we're not doing this just for the sake of just getting a backlink. We have processes in place that we can, while we were having this conversation, we probably would have had a handful of links generated.
Okay.
So the reason why I spend the time to do it is because of there's a few sides to it. One is meeting smart people in our industry. So you and I have been chatting for an hour. We're going to be buddies. We're going to see each other on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
On each other's posts. You write a book, write a review for your book. We build these relationships and help each other out, and that's something that I really like to do on a regular basis. So I go on one podcast once a week. So it's not something I do every day.
Oh, so you're not doing dozens a day or something. I don't know
No.
why I thought that. It's just
right.
seems...
once a day. So I was on about 60 podcasts like last year. So over time, there's some snowball effect to it, but some podcasts are more popular than another, obviously puts us in front of the right audience. So there's obviously some free advertising aspect to it. And it's one of those marketing touch points for us, right? We don't expect anybody who listens to the show to go and purchase our product. Probably shouldn't either, right? Because they're most likely aren't ready, which is fine. But now everybody's heard of Respona. Anybody who's listening to the show, they've heard of my name. So we have that level of credibility, right? So now next time someone is talking to someone, so there's some untraceable effects that we can't track, which is fine with us. But as I said, there's lots of different benefits to doing this. And the reason why I personally do it is because of that. Some founders, they don't like to do it, and that's fine. I mean, they prioritize their time in different ways. But I like to spend 1 hour once a week to do a podcast interview, and it's been fruitful, and I plan on doing it for the foreseeable future.
All right. Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I didn't mean that insulting or anything. It was just a curiosity as I saw more people reaching out to me. For a hot minute, I thought, that's awesome. And then for another minute, I'm like, wait a second. I know it's cool and all that jazz, but I feel like there's more to the story than I know.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And in the end, I guess I don't care. I love talking with people.
Yeah.
And as long as we're offering something for the audience, rock and roll, man.
Exactly. And, that's the key to any sort of outreach campaign we do is a mutually beneficial collaboration. So what we're getting out of this is both of us build a new friendship, new relationship online. And I come on the show and help you create a podcast episode that you can publish and utilize and run ads to, and however way you monetize a podcast or don't. And on the other side, we get some exposure to our audience, and you mentioned us in the show notes, which is great. So it's supposed to be mutually beneficial. Nobody should be ripping each other up. The whole point of doing business and being and doing what we do is to create value, right? And so that everybody wins instead of just one person being taken advantage of.
Yeah, very cool. Well, I love it. This has been enlightening, because I feel like I've been given some people some bad advice, though it was years ago, about smaller businesses, small local businesses. And I told them, get some content out there to prove that they were the expert. So I'm like, you got 5 million other plumbers, maybe not 5 million. You got 50 other plumbers out there, and people don't know you from Joe. So I have the blog on there that says, hey, how to jiggle the handle on the toilet or whatever it is.
Right.
That a plumber needs to market. But it's interesting that you said, don't waste your time on that, because there's other ways that are more productive.
Right.
Offer more
the
value.
Reason why I say that is a lot of people think that their blog to their website, and again, this is something that most people believe, is that it's a way for people to come onto your site and then navigate to a blog and read your content. We never saw that ever happen.
I would love to say that people read my content cover to cover, but I'm fairly certain
it never works like that. The way it works is that they find your content, then find your way to your website.
Gotcha. All right.
It goes backwards. So the blog is the gateway into your site. So we write top of funnel content to get people in the funnel. And now they download the ebook, we got their email, or now they go navigate to the site and sign up for a free trial, and now they're a lead, and then they become a customer. So you kind of it's a way to get exposure to get people all on top of the funnel. And obviously, most of them are gonna there's friction, but
Right.
yeah, that's one thing.
Cool. I love it. This is fun. The marketing game is so much fun. Sometimes I wish it was easier, but in the end, then it would be easier for everyone. So I guess it's got to be a pain in the butt for everyone the same. So I appreciate you being on the show.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, James.
This has been Authentic Business Adventures, the business program that brings you the struggle stories and triumphant successes of business owners across the land. If you're listening or watching this on the web, if you could do us a huge favor, give it the big old thumbs up, subscribe, and of course, share it with your entrepreneurial friends. And we'd love to hear the comments. Let us know how the SEO stuff is working for you, how online marketing is working for you, and just reaching out to people. This is fun. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. My name is James Caterman, and Authentic Business Adventures is brought to you by Calls on Call, offering call answering services for service businesses across the country on the web at callsoncall.com, as well as the Bold Business Book, a book for the entrepreneur in all of us, available wherever fine books are sold. We'd like to thank you, our wonderful listeners, as well as our guest, Farzad Rashidi of Respona. What did you put there? Lead innovator. I love that, because I suppose that never stops, does it?
Exactly.
That's the game with marketing, right? So
yes,
it is.
indeed.
Past episodes can be found morning, noon, and night. The podcast link found at drawincustomers.com. Thanks for watching. We will see you next week. I want you to stay awesome. And if you do nothing else, enjoy your business.